This video is going to review how to graph slope-intercept equations. So remember that slope-intercept form is that equation equals mx plus b. And in that equation, we are looking for two different numbers that tells us where to start your graph and then how to move. The m is always in front of your x. That is your slope. So the slope is what is telling us how to move. And then the b is always what is being added or subtracted to that x term, and that is your y-intercept. And that y-intercept tells us where to start our graph. So really, there are two steps in graphing. The first thing you need to do is graph your y-intercept. So when I'm looking at that y equals mx plus b equation, I'm going to look at that number b, including the sign in front. So if the b is positive, I'm starting on the positive side of the y-axis. And if the b is negative, I'm subtracting it. I'm starting on the negative side of the y-axis. When I find that number on the y-axis, I'm going to put a point there. And then from that point, I'm going to count the slope at least 2 times. 3 points is the smallest number of points that you can have to have a pretty accurate line, but the more points, the better. So remember, when you're counting the slope is your rise over your run. The number on the top, the rise, tells you how far to move up or down. And then the number on the bottom, the run, tells you how far to move side to side. So if you have a positive m, you should either be moving up into the right or you're moving down into the left. So notice that both of those directions have been reversed. And then if your m is negative, I should be moving down and right or up and left. So kind of keep those in mind while you guys are graphing. So let's do 2 examples really quick, starting with this line. We have y equals 3 over 2x plus 1. So I told you the first thing I want to do is graph the b. So when I look at this equation, remember b is the one being added or subtracted to the x. So in this case, it's the 1. And it's a positive 1 because there's a plus in front. So I'm looking at the y-axis. Again, that's your vertical axis that goes up and down on your coordinate plane. And I'm looking for a positive 1. And I see it right there above the origin, right above the center. So that means that is where I put my very first point. Then I look at that 3 over 2. And the 3 over 2 is my slope. So if m is 3 over 2, that means I need to be moving up 3 because 3 is positive, and then right 2 because 2 is positive. So I'm going to start at my 1 that I've already graphed. So on this example, it's a green dot. So I'm going to start from there, and I'm going to count up 3 and then right 2. And when I count up 3 and right 2, I put another point. Okay, so notice I did not put a point when I just went up 3. I had to also move 2 so that I could put my new point. And then I'm going to do that one more time. And when I do that one more time, I have a line that looks like this. And once I have my 3 points, I can connect them with the line and I'm done. Remember that your lines do need arrows at the end. Okay, that is really important. A line keeps going and going and going forever and ever and ever. If you graphed your 3rd point and all of a sudden you didn't have a straight line, then you did something wrong. Okay, remember, we should not have any curving right now. Your line should be going the same direction the whole time. Let's do one more quick example. This time we have y equals negative 2x minus 6. So again, I'm looking at the b, which is negative 6 this time. I'm looking at that y-axis and finding negative 6. And so I see it down here. If I look at the center and go down, here's my negative 6. So I put my first point. Then I identify my slope. This time I just have a negative 2. And remember, when you're talking about slope, you have to make it a fraction. If I just move some direction 2 spaces, I'm going to have a flat line. And if you have an x and a y in your equation, you should have a line that has some sort of angle. Remember, if it's a whole number like negative 2, that we have to put it over 1. Okay, so a whole number is always over 1. Now that -2 on the top tells me that I need to move down, and then the +1 on the bottom tells me that I need to move right. So from my green dot that you see here at -6, I'm going to move down 2 and then right 1, and then down 2 and right 1, and then I'm out of space. So in this case, I could just draw my line. I'm sorry. I could just draw my line the way that it is because I have my 3 points. But remember, if you run out of room, you can always reverse it. So the opposite of me going down 2 and right 1, like I did to get my first 2 points, is to go up 2 and left 1. So notice that the down changed to up and the right changed to left. So if I start at my green dot again and I go up 2 and left 1, I still have a point that's on this line, and you can tell it's on this line because it lines up with my other 3 points that I've already graphed. So it's really important that you know how to reverse it because I know that some of your practice problems will require you to reverse it so that you have at least 3 points. So once I have my at least 3, this time I did 4. I draw my line through it again with arrows, and I'm done.